She wasn't with her mother that night. High Reddit, throwaway account for obvious reasons. I've been lurking for a while, reading stories like mine, and feeling a little less alone, but I've never had the guts to post. I guess tonight's the night. This is a long one, so buckle up. My wife Chloe and I had been married for 6 years. On the surface, everything was fine. We had a nice little house in the suburbs, 2 cars, decent jobs. We were that couple our friends pointed to as stable. But for the last year or so, things had felt off. It wasn't one big thing. It was 1,000 tiny paper cuts. The way she'd angle her phone away from me. The way conversations about the future just sort of died in the air. We were roommates who shared a bed, and the space between us felt like a mile-wide canyon. The fight that started it all was stupidly, painfully normal. It was about money. I'd noticed a few weird charges on our joint credit card statement. A couple $100 here and there at stores I knew she didn't shop at. When I brought it up, I tried to be casual. "Hey, honey, what's this charge from Urban Loft Decor?" She froze. Just for a second, but I saw it. "Oh, that was for my mom," she said quickly. "I was helping her pick out some new curtains. I must have used the wrong card." It sounded plausible enough, but the defensiveness in her voice put me on edge. The conversation devolved from there. I pushed. She deflected, and soon we were dredging up every old resentment we'd been burying for months. I was emotionally unavailable. She was secretive. I worked too much. She spent too much time on her phone with her friends. It ended with her packing an overnight bag, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this tonight, Leo," she said, her voice choked. "I just need some space. I'm going to my mom's." My heart sank, but I was too proud and stubborn to stop her. "Fine," I mumbled, turning my back. I listened to the front door click shut, and the silence that followed was deafening. I spent the next day stewing in a mix of anger and guilt. I replayed the fight in my head, picking apart my own words. I was being a jerk. I'd been distant. I should have just let the credit card thing go. By evening, the guilt had won. I knew I had to make it right. I went to the fancy grocery store and bought a bottle of her favorite Pinot Noir. I picked up some ridiculously expensive cheese and crackers. On a whim, I stopped at a flower shop and got a bouquet of sunflowers, the kind she had at our wedding. My plan was to show up at our mom's place, apology in hand, and be the husband I was supposed to be. I pictured a tearful reconciliation, the two of us talking it all out on her mom's floral sofa. Her mom, Anika, lives about 20 minutes away. I pulled up to her quiet, well-kept little house around 8 p.m. The lights were on, and I could see the flicker of the TV through the living room window. I took a deep breath, grabbed the wine and flowers, and walked up to the door. I felt like a teenager on a first date. Anika answered on the second knock, a surprised but pleasant smile on her face. "Leo, what a nice surprise. What brings you by?" She looked past me, as if expecting to see Chloe's car. "Hey, Anika," I said, trying to sound casual. "Is Chloe around? I brought a peace offering." I held up the wine and flowers with a sheepish grin. Her smile faltered. Confusion clouded her eyes. "Chloe? Why would she be here?" "I haven't seen her since her cousin's birthday party 2 weeks ago." The world just stopped. The air went thin. The cheerful sound of the sitcom playing on her TV suddenly sounded menacing. "What?" I stammered, my own smile collapsing. "No, that can't be right." "We had a fight last night. She said she was coming here to stay for a bit." Anika's face shifted from confusion to deep concern. She put a hand on my arm. "Leo, I promise you, she is not here. She hasn't called me. Are you sure that's what she said?" My blood ran cold. The flowers in my hand suddenly felt heavy and stupid. "Yeah," I whispered, my voice hoarse. "I'm sure." I thanked Anika, mumbled some excuse about a misunderstanding, and stumbled back to my car in a daze. My heart was hammering against my ribs. If she wasn't with her mom, where was she? I tried her cell. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. A cold, black dread started to creep into my veins. She wasn't with her best friend, Leah. I knew they'd had a falling out a few months back. She wasn't with any of her other friends. They would have called me. Driving home, my mind was racing, connecting dots I hadn't even realized were there. The Urban Loft Decor charge. The late nights she blamed on work projects. The almost paranoid way she guarded her phone. It was like a switch had been flipped, and suddenly the darkness was filled with screaming red flags. Back at our empty house, I felt a desperate, ugly impulse. I went to our home office and opened her laptop. I hated myself for it, but the panic was overriding everything else. I logged into our joint bank account, and there it was. For the past 4 months, a recurring transfer. $1,000 on the first of every month, sent to an account I didn't recognize. The memo for each transfer was just 2 words: apartment rent. I felt like I was going to be sick. Then I remembered the Find My Phone feature we'd set up years ago after she lost her phone at a concert. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type in the password. The map loaded. A little dot, pulsing with her name, appeared on the screen. It wasn't at her mom's house. It wasn't at her office. It was in an apartment complex across town, a trendy new-build place called the Sycamore. A place I had never even heard of. The drive there was a blur. I don't remember stopping at lights or changing lanes. All I could see was that pulsing dot, a beacon leading me to the end of my world. I parked on the street and just stared at the building. It was all glass and steel, with balconies and bright lights. It looked like a place for young, single professionals. I didn't have a plan. I just walked into the lobby and looked at the directory. There was no Chloe, no last name of ours. But there was a M. Vance in Unit 412. Marcus Vance. A name from her work. She'd mentioned him a few times. A new guy on her team. "He's so brilliant," she'd said once. Really pushing the creative limits. I'd thought nothing of it. I took the elevator to the 4th floor. My heart was a drum in my ears. I walked down the sterile, gray hallway until I found it. 412. I could hear faint music from inside. I didn't knock. I just stood there, paralyzed by what I knew I was about to find. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually I just listened. I heard her laugh. It was a light, carefree laugh I hadn't heard in years. That's what broke me. I raised my hand and knocked, hard. The music stopped. I heard muffled voices, then footsteps. The door opened, and there she was, Chloe. She was wearing a t-shirt I'd never seen before. Her hair was messy, and her face was flushed. When she saw me, all the color drained from her face. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Leo," she breathed, her voice a tiny, broken thing. Behind her, a man I recognized from a company photo I'd once seen, Marcus, appeared. He was shirtless. The scene was so perfectly, horribly cliché. He wasn't with her mother that night, I thought, the words echoing Anika's confusion in my head. No, she wasn't with her mother. She was here, in her other life. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just looked at her, at the apartment behind her. The new curtains from Urban Loft Decor hanging in the window, the sleek furniture I'd unknowingly helped pay for, and a profound, devastating clarity washed over me. "How could you?" I asked. It was the only thing I could say. She just started crying, her hand flying to her mouth. There were no excuses. There was nothing to say. I turned around and walked away. I didn't look back. That was 3 months ago. We're in the process of a divorce now. I've learned the whole story. The affair had been going on for 6 months. The apartment was their little love nest, funded by our savings. The betrayal was so much deeper than just sex. It was a calculated, long-term deception. She had built an entire separate life while lying next to me every night. Looking back, I see my own failures. I wasn't present. I let the distance between us grow until it was big enough for someone else to walk into. But that's an explanation, not an excuse. Nothing can excuse building a secret life on a foundation of lies and stolen money. I don't know if I'll ever trust someone like that again. The hardest part is mourning the woman I thought I married, who, it turns out, never really existed. She wasn't with her mother that night, and in a way, she hadn't really been with me for a long, long time.